Hello, Clemson Nation. This is your host, Patrick Driscoll, and welcome to another edition of On the Prowl, the show where I keep you posted on all Clemson sports. Spring has certainly sprung in Clemson, and along with that, have many of the great sports that come with it. As March progresses on, we will be hearing more or less of some sports in the coming week. But for now, I would say there is action all around Tiger Town. Nevertheless, let's get right into it, starting with your number 4 ranked Clemson softball team. The first ACC series of the 2023 season was no problem at all for softball. This past weekend, Clemson swept the Syracuse Orange to show the nation that they mean business. Saturday included 2 victories in the doubleheader, and the Tigers followed with a 1-0 victory that earned the sweep. While only 4 hits were accumulated, that shows just how dominant Clemson's defense has been this year. The pitching trio of starter Brooke McCubbin, relievers Regan Spencer, and closer Valerie Cagle were lights out in the contest. There were no errors allowed, and Syracuse only recorded 3 hits on the day. Reedy Davenport drove in the lone RBI, sending Ariel Oda home. Sunday's win now has the softball team's record to a fantastic 20-1. Catch the ladies versus Mercer at McWhorter Wednesday evening as first pitch is scheduled for 6 o'clock. While the series did not end the way the baseball team wanted it to against South Carolina, let's get a recap of our huge victory in Clemson this past Friday. Pitchers Austin Gordon, Jackson Lindley, and Casey Talent were a 3-headed monster in the game. They only allowed 7 hits and 2 runs in the contest. It was truly a sight to see, giving our in-state rival their first loss of the season. As for the offense, Cooper Ingle kicked things off with a home run in the first to ignite the Tigers. As the game progressed on, Clemson slowly built upon the lead, and Gavin Abrams' pinch hit dinger in the 6th inning was the icing on the cake to take the 7-2 win. After dropping the following 2 games, that now puts Clemson baseball at 5-6 on the year. They look to get even Tuesday afternoon versus East Tennessee State. Game time is set for 4 o'clock at DKS. And what was the last time you'll see the men's basketball team at Littlejohn this spring? They made sure Clemson Nation got their money's worth. This past Saturday, the Tigers roared past the Notre Dame Fighting Irish, winning by a margin of 87-64 on senior night. Clemson was lights out in this one, shooting 51% from the floor and 45% from deep. There were 5 Tigers who reached double figures in this game, with the double-double machine himself, Hunter Tyson, leading the way with 16. With this win, Clemson set a new program record in ACC victories on the year. Along with that, a number 3 seed in the ACC tournament. Clemson now has a well-deserved break until Thursday night to open postseason play, as their opponent is to be announced. While the men are itching to begin their ACC playoff journey, unfortunately, the women's has just ended. Last week, they were unable to bring down the number 18 ranked North Carolina Tar Heels. Despite a career-high 28 from Amari Robinson, UNC did not allow Clemson to come within striking distance. While the loss puts the Tigers' record at 17-15 on the year, however, keep in mind that is a 7-win improvement over last year. Head coach Amanda Butler and her squad await their fate this upcoming selection Sunday. If this is the end though, thank you to seniors Bree Perpignan and Hannah Hank on remarkable Clemson careers. I can guarantee you the Tigers will be hungry for more regardless of what Sunday brings. Coming off another tough ACC loss, the women's lacrosse team went right back to work versus Longwood University this past Sunday. After tallying 8 goals in the first quarter, Clemson kept the pressure up as they won by a score of 21-3. To lead the way were two familiar names, Gianna New with 5 goals and Hannah Hillcoff with 4. Goalkeeper Emily Lamparter continued her strong play with 3 saves on the day. Clemson had their best clearing performance of the year as well, with all 17 being successful. More great news, Clemson is back in Tigertown for a 5-game home stretch. To kickstart that, they square off against Campbell University at historic Riggs. Catch the women in action at 4 o'clock Wednesday afternoon. While dropping their first 2 conference matches this past weekend, there were still some positive highlights for the Clemson men's tennis team. First, I have to mention Max Smith and Trey Stinchcom's incredible doubles victory. After finding themselves down 4-1 to begin the match, they dug deep and won an absurd 5 straight games to take the win. Did I mention that this was against the number 40 ranked doubles team in the country as well? In singles play, Matt Pitts had a big-time top 100 win of his own for the other point. Clemson looks to gain some momentum with an ACC victory this Wednesday versus Georgia Tech. Catch the first serve at Duckworth at 3 p.m. Like the men, this past weekend was a tough one for the women's tennis team. Despite falling to ACC foes Wake Forest and NC State, head coach Amy Sargent had lots of positive things to say. She emphasized how much heart the girls put into the matches, and that even with the losses, they are continuing to play at an elite level. Against the Wolfpack, Dani Medvedeva earned the lone point in singles action. As conference play continues to heat up, the Tigers have kept growing regardless of wins or losses. They will be back at Duckworth this Friday at 3 p.m. where they match up versus the Duke Blue Devils. 2 days later, they have another bout versus North Carolina at noon. Best of luck this weekend. While several of our teams are competing in ACC postseason play this week, track and field is taking it up a notch. This upcoming weekend, 7 Clemson Tigers will be taking their talent to indoor nationals. There are 6 entries in total, 5 individual events and 1 relay set to compete in Albuquerque, New Mexico. The women's team is bringing Marie Forbes in the weight throw and Kiara Grant in the 60-meter dash. As for the men, we got Gianno Roberts in the 60-meter hurdles, Wanye McCoy in the 400-meter dash, and Therese Roden in the 800-meter run. The 4x400-meter relay consisting of McCoy, Roden, Cameron Rose, and Amon Thornton round things off for head coach Mark Elliott. The meet will go through Friday and Saturday and will be streamed on ESPN. Let's go Tigers! While the past 2 athletes who have earned this award have had some national recognition for their performances, today we're going to switch things up a little bit. Being in attendance for the basketball game versus the Irish this past Saturday, the crowd saw plenty of action to stand up and get on their feet. There was one moment out of them all that provided the biggest roar though, and while it wasn't the most flashy, it certainly meant the most to Clemson Nation. Congratulations to men's basketball senior Jack Nosif. You are the athlete of the week. The former manager turned walk-on hit 1 free throw this past weekend, and that is all he needed to take home this one. Why, you ask? Jack's path to earn that point is the epitome of what we call Clemson grit. As I mentioned before, Jack was a manager for a full 2 years before earning a spot on the roster. And for those of you that do not know, being a manager on any sports team is no walk in the park. He could have called it quits after his first year, but he stuck with it due to his immense passion of basketball and Clemson alike. What Jack's story teaches us, that with hard work and perseverance, you can truly achieve your goals regardless of what they may be. And that's the reason why you earned this one. Best of luck to Jack along with the rest of the team as they take on March. Go Tigers! And with that, this marks the end of this week's edition. As you can tell, There is so much going on in the Clemson sports world. I got a good feeling that this week is going to be a very special one. I'm your host, Patrick Driscoll, and thank you for tuning in with me. See you next week.